And welcome to Building Your Professional Presence Through Documents. This is a presentation that was prepared for the ABLE Scholars. My name is Kristen Lebrecht. I'm the Natural Science and Pre-Health Pathways Advisor here at UW-Bothell. And what that means is that I work with students who are interested in careers in healthcare. So whether students are looking for graduate programs or jobs in healthcare, my job is to guide them through that. Today we'll be talking about professional documents. Can you name them? Do you have them ready? Oftentimes I think when we are faced with professional documents, we think about our cover letters and resumes, but they also include elevator speeches, whatever you might speak or write into a connection request. They include curriculum vitae, your LinkedIn profile. Hopefully all of you are in LinkedIn. And do you have any other ideas? Go ahead and type into the chat or unmute and speak up if you can think of another professional document. Emails, messages, Teams messages. Those are all spaces where we can employ some professionalism. Although I will say, primarily what we'll focus on today will be those items listed here: your elevator speech, your resumes, your vitae, LinkedIn profile, and cover letters and personal statements. There's a worksheet I like to share with students called Define Your Why, and I will go ahead and put that into the chat as a simple file upload. What you will be able to do is use this worksheet as homework. I love giving homework, so use this worksheet on your own to kind of walk through what you might do to formulate your own elevator speech. And what you'll do is kind of think about things you've done and what you've done that you've liked doing, how they match with your values, and then you'll be able to boil those down into something you can use as an elevator speech to be able to say, I'm someone who wants to change the world, or I'm someone who wants to help one patient at a time. And you can use that to fuel your job search and really focus your search on those kinds of positions and companies or organizations that really align with your values, so that you're not applying to 40, 50 jobs, but you're applying to very specific jobs that really fall in line with what it is you want to do and where you want to do it. I want to encourage you throughout your professional documents to tell your story. Really think about how you might own your narrative and tell stories that support your claims. When you say you are someone who wants to help one patient at a time, what stories do you have to back that up? And how can you share those stories to really give someone a picture of who you are? I always encourage students to journal. Journal can fuel your creativity. It can really combat imposter phenomenon. If you are writing your cover letter, resume, and you look at your journal, you see all the ways that you've prepared. If you're preparing for an interview, you can review that and again see, like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. But to boil it all down, the biggest professional document that people seem to have some anxiety around is a resume. And I encourage you, whether you're job seeking or not, to have your resume ready at all times. The resume is a marketing piece to get you an interview, but the more you keep this as a living document, the easier it'll be when you are ready to submit it. The resume is basically your story outlined. You get to highlight your education, highlight your relevant experience, and really speak about your skills and accomplishments. In general, resumes should be 1 to 2 pages at most. Try to avoid fancy templates because they don't go into application tracking systems very well. Be mindful of real estate. If you're spending a lot of time on something, is that an area that is really relevant to the job or not? You want to make sure that you're keeping things kind of tight. Use professional and consistent style when it comes to fonts and punctuations, and do develop what we call a master resume. In my mind, a master resume is the same thing as a curriculum vitae. It's like all your things all together. And, if you're a DMP student, that might be very long. It might be a 7-page document. That's okay. That's your master. It's all the things you've done. When you are tailoring your resume to specific job applications, you can use that master resume as like a menu for all the different things you want to say about yourself and what you've accomplished. In your resume sections, the very first one should be contact information. If the resume is a marketing piece to get you an interview, you need to make sure you've told them how to contact you. Use your name and your email, your phone number, You do not need to list your geographic location. You do want to list, however, a URL to your LinkedIn account so that people can see your profile. Some people use a summary of qualifications, and this is a space where you can really kind of list a short amount of skills or certifications, something that you want to say about yourself that might be outside of other job experiences. Your education section is one where you should really highlight all of the degrees and certifications that you've received. List them in reverse chronological order. You want to highlight the school you attended, the degree you received, your dates of attendance. Sometimes you don't have to list dates of attendance. I'll just kind of put a little note in there. If you don't want to, like for instance, if it's been a while since you graduated, you can leave the dates off. You really just want to say that you have this degree. When it's important to list a date is when that degree is anticipated. So if you're in your program and you're going to graduate, listing that degree as an anticipated date is important, but you really don't need to list the date if you've already obtained that degree. It is nice to put in relevant courses, especially if those courses speak specifically to the job you're applying to. If the job you're applying to, for instance, is in epidemiology and you want to list that you've completed an epidemiology course as part of your degree, that's a really important space for doing that. I just want to reiterate, this is a very casual presentation, so if you have questions along the way, please feel free to type them into the chat. You can also unmute and speak up if you like. And welcome to those who are just joining us. The next resume section, and I'm going to spend the majority of the time here, is on experience. Now, if you're working on building your master resume, that living document where you keep adding things, you want to put everything in here. You want to list all of your job experiences. Maybe they're paid, maybe they're volunteer, but every place where you've gained unique skills. List your internships, involvement, anything you can do to kind of talk up the skills and what you've accomplished. You could even put class projects or presentations if you want to in here. The most important thing about experience is to frame it in a way that will really be beneficial for employers. And we like to use what's called the what, how, why framework. What did you do? How did you do it? And why? Or what was the impact? So we see here in the first example, what the person did was cared for patients during appointments. That's great. Please don't end there. The next thing the person did, we say how they did it, assessing their vitals, performing blood draws, and administering vaccinations. So now we know that this person not only has the ability to care for patients, but we know that how they did that was assessing vitals, performing blood draws, and administering vaccines. So that tells us a little bit more about what you're able to do. Going beyond that though, to the why, to support their sustained health, now we understand that you know why you're doing your job. We know why this work was important. So when we look at some of the prior or the other bullets, worked across stages of labor during OB rotation. What is that? That's actually not the what. Sometimes we reverse the order for impact. Maybe you're applying to a specific position as an OB nurse. You want to say that first, that you know how to work across all stages of labor during OB rotation, even though the what is that you learn to identify false labor, check fetal heart rate, and deliver. Now, why would you do that? Well, in the case the provider is not available in an emergency. So you don't need to necessarily list everything in the what, how, why order. You just need to make sure that each bullet includes those aspects so that the employer knows you know how to do these things, you know what to do, and you know why you're doing them. You can even describe the impact you've made. As you see in the last bullet, the impact was reducing the turnover rate by 8%. If you have some kind of quantifiable information to include in a bullet point, that's very helpful too. Now, when it comes to this master resume, your curriculum vitae, your LinkedIn profile, these are your career's best friends. They should be ready all the time so that they'll work for you. Sometimes you might be at work and someone says, hey, did you know there's going to be a charge nurse position opening up, or did you know that this person is kind of hanging out today and wants to talk with some of us? Having these ready is great because while they might not be tailored to a specific job, if you're put on the spot, you can have this ready to just share with the person who's wanting to know what your qualifications are. This master resume, your LinkedIn profile, your curriculum vitae, this is the place to put everything. All your education, all your work experience, all your volunteerism, your licenses, your certifications, awards. If you've got any publications or presentations under your belt, list them here. This becomes your menu so that when you're applying to specific jobs, you can take it, copy it over to a new document, and just really tailor it to that new position. But when you're got this master resume ready to go, this is where you can take it and then you can really tailor. So you might have your work experience, your job, if you've been working as a nurse already for 5 or 6 years, you might have 10 different bullets, right? Because you might have lots of different things you want to talk about with the what, how, why framework. Well, depending on what you're applying to, you're going to pick and choose some of those bullets. And this is, I'd say, the hardest part of resume writing is getting rid of stuff. Really kind of tailoring and say, well, what is most important for this job that I'm doing? Remember, the resume is just your marketing piece to get you the interview. You'll be able to talk about yourself some more in the interview. The resume needs to be tailored specifically to the job description. So when you're looking at a job description, you want to make sure that the resume is speaking to each one of those qualifications. So what I did here was I kind of looked at the resume bullets that we had before and said, how do we tailor to the specific job? The first bullet is something you might list if you're applying to a general nursing role, right? You know how to care for patients, you know how to do their vitals, blood draws, vaccinations. You know that all of this sustains their health. Is anybody applying to general nursing roles at this point? Probably not in this group, I don't think. Maybe you're applying to a specialized nursing role. You're applying to a role in an OB department. And so then that second bullet becomes really important. Knowing that you have done OB rotation, knowing that you know how to identify false labor, check heart rates, and deliver in case the provider is not available. That's really important for a specialized nursing role. And then this might be applying to some of you as well if you're applying to a nurse manager role. So this might not relate specifically to nursing or working with patients, but harnessing Halogen talent space for compensation planning, ensuring fair salary structures for nursing staff, reducing the turnover rate by 8%. That's huge. If you're applying to be a nurse manager and the employer sees this, they know that you know not only how to be a nurse, but how to manage and how to work in that role. So this is where tailoring can be very specific to the job that you're applying to. When you've got your resume all done, set, and it's beautiful, what you want to do is zoom out and think about what is your first impression when you look at this document. Feel free to review, edit, re-review, have someone else take a look at it. Our office actually does online cover letter and resume review that you can submit if you're a UW-Bothell student. So if you're UW-Bothell, you're able to do this. We also have sample resumes posted online, so you're welcome to look at those. Those are open to everyone. And then we also have Beam Jobs has an article for 29 different nursing resumes examples. And that's actually where I pulled some of those bullet points. So feel free to take a look at that website because it's really helpful. I will happily send these slides over so that they can be distributed.
Kristen, real quick.
Yes.
Can I just clarify for those that are not Bothell students, the UW-Tacoma campus also has a center that I'm sure a career center that can help with this, as well as UW-Seattle. All UW campuses have some sort of career center or something along these lines that can help with any type of review, be it resume or helping with interviews, cover letters, etc. So those campuses those resources are available across all campuses.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Thanks, Melanie. All community colleges and the University of Washington system all have career centers. And so you'd be able to have your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, all of those things can be reviewed by coaches so that you can make sure that they're set up for your success. The website posted here is available to everyone, so you can access those anytime. I wanted to say a word about ChatGPT and resumes. ChatGPT is a super helpful tool when it comes to editing. I would not use ChatGPT for crafting your resume. It can really put in a lot of things that are not relevant to you or to the job, so you want to be very, very careful. But where I have found, great success with ChatGPT is if I were to plunk in my master resume in ChatGPT and then put in a job description, I can ask ChatGPT, how would I tailor my resume to this job description? And it will literally give you a bulleted list, a checklist of things to do, to look for in your resume to make sure that it's tailored to that job specifically. Has anyone used ChatGPT before? It can be a helpful tool. If we have some time at the end, we can take a look. As I mentioned with the job description, you want to make sure that when you're submitting a tailored resume, that it matches the job description almost exactly. Some folks feel a little, worried about this because you might think, oh, it's plagiarism. Like I need to make sure to shift some words around. No, you really don't. Use the same keywords that appear in the job description in your application, because if they're using application tracking systems, your resume could get filtered out. Sometimes students will list BS instead of Bachelor of Science, and if the application tracking system is looking for bachelor's degree, it might not see BS as bachelor's degree and weed that application out. So we want to be very careful about listing exactly what is required in the description on your resume. If there's any career competencies that you need for the role, if there's any certifications you need for the role, make sure those are listed on there almost exactly so that the application tracking system will find it. Has anybody applied for jobs at a place where they've used an ATS? Not yet? No. Good. It can worry a lot of folks. So just some things to be mindful of. When it comes to your cover letter, which is another document, this is more of a narrative space. Remember how we said the resume is kind of your story outlined with all these bullets? Your cover letter is more of a narrative. It's a space for you to highlight why you're sending the resume. So most people open with, I noticed your job opening. And you can say how you learned of it. How did you learn of the position, the organization? This is a great space to name folks. If there's someone who sent you the job description specifically or who recommended you for the role, you can list that person in your cover letter. The main focus of your cover letter, though, after this introduction, should be why are you the right fit for the job? Within the job description, what qualities, what experiences, and what skills are you bringing to the role that are just the right fit? This is another space for you to describe how you'll add value to the organization. So looking through LinkedIn, doing some research about the organization, reading about them, as well as talking to some people who work there, you can really learn about how they're structuring their position, what you might do to add to that position and to the team overall. If there are any prompts for your cover letter, make sure you address those. And I always like to end with a call to action. A cover letter is a great space to say, I look forward to hearing from you. Be very forward and tell them that you want an interview. Match your resume fonts and headers and use the web resources available for cover letters too. All of your campuses, community colleges, the Tri-Campus UW system will have resources for writing your cover letter online. So be sure to check those out. With your cover letter especially, we don't want to use ChatGPT to write the cover letter. If the goal of the cover letter is to get them to read your resume, and the goal of the resume is to get an interview, the last thing you want to do is show up and speak in a tone of voice that's different from your letter. They want to know that this is the same person consistently from cover letter to resume to interview. So don't use ChatGPT to write your cover letter, but you could again use it to edit your cover letter. So let's say you've written a cover letter, you've got your first draft, you enter it in ChatGPT and you say, hey, ChatGPT, here's the website of the organization I'm applying to, here's the job description. What suggestions do you have for my cover letter? And this is where ChatGPT can give you some great information. I'm always very careful in ChatGPT not to use your personal information. So you can put your whole cover letter in there, just leave the header and signature out. Another form of cover letter is a personal statement. Some jobs will ask you for a diversity statement or for a statement on your philosophy of education or your philosophy of supervision, depending on what kind of position you're applying to. If you're applying to a graduate program, they will ask you for a personal statement as well. This document really is a way for those folks to check your writing skills. So you want to make sure your mechanics are really great in this space. Address the prompts. Specifically with diversity statements, they're going to ask you to address the prompt that is very clearly part of their request, and make sure that you tell your story. This is a space to really shine. Bring out your journal, tell stories about who you are, how you've shown who you are, and what you want to do in this thing that you're applying to. Make sure you back up your claims with those smaller stories and weave them all together. Did you know that the root word for suture is the same root word for story? So telling your story is just like doing stitches. You can think about how you're going to weave all these stories together to create the fabric that is your statement. There are web resources available, just like with the cover letter and resume, at all of our campuses' career services sites. And this is another space to use ChatGPT to edit. Not to write, but to edit and say, do I address the prompt? Is this aligned with the organization that I'm applying to? And it will give you some really good feedback. Don't forget about the people feedback too, with the career centers that are available at your campuses. Just some people think that your career is just going to be a ladder where you go to school, do your internship, get your degrees, and then keep advancing. But in reality, you're probably going to go to school, get a job, maybe you shift, maybe you go another way. It's perfectly okay for your career to take many twists and turns. The more your documents are ready, the more you'll be able to take advantage of opportunities that come your way so that you can shift and you can think of things in a different way when you want to. And the University of Washington has LinkedIn Learning. So whether you're a student at Seattle, Bothell, or Tacoma, you're able to log into LinkedIn and take advantage of the learning modules there. Sometimes if you see a job that requires a certain skill that you might not have, you are able to go into LinkedIn and gain that skill. For instance, if you're applying to a supervisor position and they want you to have Excel skills so that you can manage the schedule, you can go into LinkedIn and complete a course in Excel and add that to your resume, to your profile, and to your skill set. What I'd love to do now is a little bit of demonstration. So I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to pop over to another space here. So give me just a second. While I do that, feel free to think about what questions you might have.
Quick, Kristen, while we have a minute, I just wanted to say hi all to our ABLE students. Thank you so much for attending. My name is Melanie. I'm not sure if I've met any of you. I mostly work with students who are at UW Tacoma. But just wanted to say thank you for attending. We hope you're receiving some of the communication we've been sending, like newsletters and such. And just to know that we are always available if you have any questions about anything. And feel free to reach out. I think our email address is on most of those newsletters, but ablenursing@uw.edu. And also that Jolie is here as well. She's another one of our ABLE retention specialists that we're just here as a team. The third person on our team is Erin McFeely, and she's out today. But the three of us are always here, able to help with any questions. Feel free to send us emails or ask questions or anything. Just know we're here to support you as you continue through your journey at UW through your nursing career. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Melanie. So what I'm going to share with you is a former search that I've done in ChatGPT with a student, just so that you can see how the tool works. So let me share a new screen. And this was a student who had their resume and just wanted some tips on it. So we left off contact information because we don't want to feed that into ChatGPT necessarily. And let me go ahead and put this in the chat so you can see the link. So what we did is we just fed in the student's resume. Said, okay, here's my resume, copy, paste. And then ChatGPT is super nice and says you've had a diverse range of experiences. Here are a few suggestions to enhance it. So this is before we even put in a specific job ad. This ChatGPT said, here's some things you might do to help. And so then we said, here's a job I'm applying to. And ChatGPT was very anxious and said, send it. So we listed this patient care coordinator position that the student wanted to apply to. And ChatGPT responded saying, based on the job description, here are some tailored suggestions for your resume. And this is not writing the resume. So we're not copying this and putting this into anything, because obviously it's just giving you ideas, saying, here's how you can highlight your support, emphasize your skills, mention your proficiency, things that were super helpful. And so what the student could do is essentially take each one of these bullets and write a bullet that highlighted experience in providing support and coordination in healthcare setting. Then they wrote another bullet with that what, how, why framework that emphasized their communication skills, collaboration skills, and how they ensured patient comfort. So they just went through each of these suggestions to really kind of tailor the resume to the job description. You want to take ChatGPT with a grain of salt, right? There's one item here that I really took issue with. I said, since the job doesn't require a bachelor's degree, you don't need to list it. But I said you should still list it, right? It's still important to list your education and to demonstrate your commitment to learning by putting that on there. So even though it says you don't have to list it, they did say you could list it, and I said you should. So I think that's a way that ChatGPT can be helpful, but just always take it with a grain of salt, and it's always your call for what you'd like to do. When it comes to your documents and pulling everything together, know that you're not alone. You have support through all of the career centers at your campuses. You have support through web resources. There's tons of web resources available. And you're also welcome to message me anytime you have questions or concerns. I work with all students, and so I'm happy to be a resource for you. Do you have any questions at this point? No? Great. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Great. LinkedIn is a super great resource. And next time we're going to talk about networking and how to use these documents in a way that will really kind of help bolster your career. Just want to give a little teaser. It's thanks to LinkedIn that I got most of my jobs because finding folks and talking to them really helped me not only learn about opportunities, but figure out which opportunities would be good ones. Because within LinkedIn, you can find people working at organizations you're considering and ask them questions and say, what is it like to work there? Is it a good space? Would it be a good space for me? So you can really evaluate a job and the organization before you even apply. One of the mistakes I've made is, I'll apply to 40 different jobs. Be like, I qualify, I'll apply to it. Don't want to do that. We want to find the jobs that we want at places where we want to work and apply to those. Because if I have just gone through, in 30 minutes telling you, okay, this is how you're going to craft all these documents, and then even after you have them done, you're going to tailor them each time to each job you apply to, that's a lot of work. You're going to tailor 40 different resumes. That's too much time. We know it's like a full-time job applying to jobs. So find the ones you want, organizations where you want to work, and apply to those specifically, and you'll find much better success. All that to say, that's pretty much what I have for you today. I want to pop up one more slide, which is just this last one here. As I mentioned, I'm Kristen Lebrecht. I'm happy to coordinate with you anytime. So feel free to reach out if you have questions. The email is listed there. All of the information on our website is open to everyone, so you're welcome to use the resources. The QR code on the screen is a 30-second survey you can do to share with us how things went today so that we can continue to improve our sessions and also ensure that we can still offer them. So thank you for joining today. And I'll say one more time, if there's any questions, please let me know.
Will this video be posted on this site here?
Yes.
I missed the first part, so I was just like, oh no.
Oh, no, you're great. Yes, I believe the video will be posted, and I'll defer to my colleagues with Able Scholars to let you know more about where and when.
Yeah, we plan on getting the recording put up. We're thinking about putting it on our website, but we'll definitely get it out in an email and direct you to where it's at. So, but we'll just need a week or two to edit, and then yes, we'll get it out to everyone.
Okay, awesome. And then for the chat GPT part, like I missed the part where you so did you just take the prompt of the organization and you plugged it in to like create like an outline basically?
Yeah, basically. So what I can do is I can start a new one.
Okay.
If you want to be a test subject, if you have any, you can put a link in the chat and then I can do it live.
Okay, a link in the chat. A link of
Like to a job description. So I'll start a new message here. And one of the great things you can do if you have your LinkedIn profile all set as like your master resume, you could even just put it in the chat. You could say, hi, ChatGPT. Here's a to my
okay, I sent one in.
oh, unable to describe. Whoops. Well, let me do something else. Hold on. This is the fun of a live demo. Instead of doing that, I'll say, here is my master resume. And so it gives me a basic summary of what I've written in my resume. And it, tells me nice because I haven't said anything else. But within this same search, I can put in more information and then I can ask for something else specific. So you've put a link to an evergreen job.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I will do now is I will just grab this whole thing. It into ChatGPT. Here is a job to which I would like to apply. This will be fun because I have no qualifications for this whatsoever. And then it gives me a tailored cover letter saying, here's what which I did not ask for. I did not ask for a cover letter. So here's where sometimes it can be tricky, right? Because ChatGPT will give you something you didn't ask for. I didn't want it to write me a cover letter and I don't want it to, but I fed in the job description. It says, here's a cover letter. So now, because it will remember my resume that I plunked in. It will remember the job description. I'll say, how can I tailor my resume to this job description? So be very careful because when it does work for you, that's when you want to say, no, thanks. So, and then you just need to ask it. It's a search engine, so you want to ask it for more information. Now here again, it's writing for me, which I think there was just an update. So it's really kind of giving me a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have. because I don't have any of these certifications and I didn't put them in my resume. So this is not showing me a great example. So be very careful with the version you use. There was just an update, and so I think now it's on ChatGPT 4. I had been on 2 before where it really just held to what information I had given it. And so this is a really good example for why you want to look at it and say, is this giving me what I want? Because this is not it. Some of the prior ones that I had done was really more helpful where it says, here's what I want you to do, right? Here are things that you should do. So when it gives you that kind of information, that's where it's very helpful. When it does it for you, I would shift away. So I need to look at this and fix that. So I apologize that the live demo was not super good, but
okay.
that's how it should essentially work.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to see how to like utilize, because at first I was kind of like, I should not use this, it's like not authentic, but then there's like ways to like utilize Chat GPT where it's still like your own voice at the same time.
Exactly. When it gives you those suggestions, it's much better than when it writes it for you.
Right.
And Jolie has her hand raised.
I just had a quick question about LinkedIn, and I don't know if that's more, if you're going to cover more on that with your second presentation, but what do you suggest goes on our LinkedIn? Is it really just your resume redone? Is it your master resume? Like what, can you give me a little direction on that?
Yeah, absolutely. When in the next session, when we talk about networking, it'll be far more about how you use your profile. So for this session, we can definitely talk about the profile itself, which should be comprehensive, because that's a way that employers can find you. If they're searching for applicants, let's say you have an open to work badge, they want to see everything in there so that they can figure out, okay, who's going to be a good fit for this job I'm recruiting for. So your master resume, your curriculum vitae, your LinkedIn profile, to me, those are all the same. You should put everything in there. And there's spaces you can add. You can add sections for volunteering. You can add sections for certifications, publications, all the things.
Okay.
So here you can see your LinkedIn profile. They give you an opportunity to create a nice banner image. And usually what we say is choose something that speaks about you. You know, sometimes people put a Seattle cityscape, or maybe you put the trees if you love nature. I have Celebrate First Gen because that's a cause that I really care about, is our first generation students and helping them find success. My profile includes an about section. Don't know why it jumped all the way to the bottom, but this might be the same as a professional summary on your resume. So who are you? What are you about? Just kind of a couple sentences about yourself and what you're looking for in a career. Activity is more like a feed, but here's where we get to experience. So I'm not gonna leave anything off here, because this is a space that allows, you know, different recruiter searches to find me based on what they're looking for. So I'm going to include everything I can in this space. This is not going to be tailored. This is going to be the master that includes everything. You can add your education in this space, licenses and certs, volunteering, different skills. If people give recommendations, those will be listed here. You can also give your own recommendations about others, and those are also attached to your profile so people can see kind of who you're endorsing and who's endorsed you. You can list your honors and awards, including any images of the documents. And then if there's any groups that you're interested in following or causes that you're committed to, you can include those just to give people a more holistic sense of who you are as a candidate.
Kristen, what back to the recommendations, is that something you asked somebody for and then they have to do it through that platform?
Either way. So Firuza, I had not asked Firuza for a recommendation, but after meeting with her for some career coaching, she decided to send me a recommendation, which was super nice. Some of the ones I had given were just, you know, of my own free will. but some had been requested. And so what happens is you can ask someone to give you a recommendation. You can say who would be able to see that recommendation, and then it's just posted on their profile as received instead of as given. And so here's, I think the plus sign is where you click and you can ask or you can give a recommendation. So maybe you have a boss who you really like, you want to give them a recommendation, you can do that here, or a supervisee you could give a recommendation. Or if you're applying for a job and let's say you're applying for a job with Fred Hutch, you know somebody who works there, you might ask them for a recommendation so that that employer sees, oh wow, they got a recommendation from someone who works here, we'll look more closely at that.
When a job application like offers to like apply through LinkedIn, is it always better to apply with LinkedIn instead of like their direct website to their organization?
That's a great question. Usually there'll be a recruiter attached if you see a job posted on LinkedIn, and you can ask that person. Ask them, do you prefer that we apply through LinkedIn? Do you prefer that we apply through your site? I say nine times out of 10, they probably prefer you apply through their site.
Interesting.
But they might have a way of taking what's received on LinkedIn and plunking it in. So connect with that recruiter and ask them specifically what's best.
Okay.
To be good at our jobs, right? We get all these certifications and credentials and degrees, and we learn all these skills and we do our job the best we can. But there's this hidden job curriculum. We often talk about the hidden curriculum in higher education, like all these things that you don't know. But there's a hidden curriculum in jobs too, right? You have to manage your career. You want to be good at your job, but sometimes it's not enough. You also have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own agent, and you have to work for yourself to make sure that you're getting the jobs you need and the places where you can thrive. And to do that, having these documents ready and being willing and able to network and talk to people is what will really help you get there.
For sure. So if we like after we graduate, are we still able to like come in for help with like future like personal statements, perhaps to grad school or like to other different job opportunities? Are we able to like come back for help?
Yeah. The career centers at most campuses will work with alumni. At Bothell specifically, we work with alumni up to 3 years after graduation.
Okay.
So you might want to check with the career center at your specific campus to see what their policies are for working with alumni, but most career centers do.
Okay, I'm with UW Bothell.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah.
3 years after graduation.
Okay.
Although yeah. I just remembered it's recording. I was gonna say we don't always check. That's okay. If you've watched to the end, you deserve to get that tidbit.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad. I hope you learned a little bit about these documents and how you can put them to work for you. And then next time we'll talk about networking, and I'll do a lot of demos there for how you can find people, find organizations, and make connections through LinkedIn.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining, everyone. Have a wonderful day.